We had our second college football rankings drop last night, and there's not as much to break down as there was last week, largely due to the rankings staying pretty much the same. However, I thought I would still share with you my 3 biggest takeaways from the latest edition of the College Football Playoff Rankings. Before we get to my takeaways, make sure you click that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. If you love college football, this is definitely the place for you. My first takeaway is the fact that the committee seems pretty committed to who they think the 7 best teams are in the country. The top 7 stayed exactly the same, even though there easily could have been some sort of movement. There was no real surprise with the top 3, but with Ohio State not playing a game this week, I was interested to see if Texas A&M or Florida would have jumped over them in the rankings. Instead, it looks as if the committee is holding their ground and saying they believe Ohio State is better than both those SEC teams, even though they've played just about half the games they have. Instead of track record during the season, it looks as if the committee will be basing this off who they think are the top 4 teams in the country, not necessarily what's been shown on the field. Don't get me wrong, I think Ohio State is probably one of the top 4 teams in the nation, but they haven't played enough games to really prove that quite yet. Both Florida and Texas A&M have nearly a full season under their belts and have definitely shown they're some of the top teams in the nation. I said this on my podcast last night, but I personally would have moved A&M and Florida both up a spot and put Ohio State at 6 until they get a few more games under their belt. Again, not that it really matters since everything will play itself out, but I can't see the committee making any changes barring something big happening in the coming weeks. My next takeaway is that the Big 12 is somehow still alive. I talked about this a few days ago, but there's still an outside chance a Big 12 team can reach the college football playoff. We have written them off so many times this season, but miraculously, they're inching their way back into the fold of things. Iowa State came in at 9, which was shocking to see them jump 4 spots into the top 10. They defeated Texas on the road in a thrilling game this weekend, but let's pump the brakes on Texas. This isn't that good of a win for the Cyclones. Iowa State squeaked by at the end, and they jump up 4 spots. That seemed a bit much. Oklahoma is only 2 spots behind them, sitting at 11. With these 2 teams destined to play each other in the Big 12 title game, one of these teams would make history if they were to make the playoff. A 2-loss team has never made it, so one of these Big 12 teams would be the first. As I mentioned in my scenarios video, a lot would have to happen in order for one of these teams to make it. The Big 12 would need at least Clemson, Ohio State, Florida, Texas A&M, and Cincinnati to all lose. But hey, if all that happens, it looks like the Big 12 will be in. Before I get to my final takeaway, if you could please take a second and give this video a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps the video reach more college football fans, and it only takes a second to do. My final takeaway is that the committee is truly all over the place with these rankings. I talked about this on my show last night as well, but how the hell does North Carolina lose to Notre Dame and move up 2 spots? I could kind of see it if maybe it was a thrilling and close game and North Carolina lost as time expired, but they were outplayed through the final 3 quarters. Also, North Carolina isn't even deserving to be in a top 25 team in the country. They're the only team in the top 25 with 3 losses, and they're at number 17. In addition to Notre Dame, North Carolina has lost to Florida State and Virginia. So yeah, I don't quite get how 1, they move up 2 spots, and 2, how they're even ranked at this point. Looking at who they've beaten, I guess Virginia Tech is a good win, along with NC State, but they have no reason being in the top 25. Up next, I see the committee is still high on Northwestern. I talked about this last week, but the Wildcats had absolutely no business being at number 8 in last week's rankings. No business. Well, they proved me right as they lost to a 1-win Michigan State team, arguably one of the worst teams in all of the Big Ten at this point. And they're still ranked 14th in the country. Last week, I could name more than 10 teams that were better than Northwestern. This week, I can easily name you at least 20. Speaking of which, how about Coastal Carolina? They're undefeated, and I think they're a legit team. This weekend is going to be a great test against Liberty, but I think the Chanticleers have done enough this season to be ranked above North Carolina, Northwestern, and Wisconsin. Now, I'm not asking for Coastal Carolina to crack the top 15 or anything like that, but they definitely have been more impressive than those teams I just mentioned. Finally, how the hell does Oklahoma State move up 8 spots after beating an okay Texas Tech team by 6? Like, am I missing something? The committee was super low last week after the Cowboys got humiliated by the Sooners, but now they're super high on them again after this close victory. Also, how does Iowa move up 5 spots after struggling to beat Nebraska? I've always been hard on the AP poll, but man, this playoff committee really has me questioning a lot of things. Oh, and they're still madly disrespecting BYU by having them at 13. Well, those are my 3 takeaways from this past weekend's college football playoff rankings. What are your biggest takeaways this week? Drop a comment down below and share with me your opinions. If you haven't done so yet, there's still time for you to give this video a like. I spend a lot of time on videos like this and putting out content, so I'd greatly appreciate it. If you haven't done so yet, don't forget to smash that subscribe button if you love college football. I post a ton of great college football content here, so this is definitely the place for you. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.